You are Megatroning in this, or
I am Megatroning. Can we make it a verb?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
that's great.
Yeah.
Megatroning.
What was it like to Megatron? How did you go Megatroning into finding this voice?
You know, because I get to play Megatron before he's Megatron D16, I just approached it like a coming of age story, right? Like, here you have this bot who is just trying to find his way in the world, keeping his head down, trying to like figure out what role he fits in on Cybertron, and then he meets Orion Pax, a best friend who opens up a whole new world to him. But also to watch him discover that the world that he was told he should live in is not what it seems. I'm always fascinated about stories of villains because like they usually present villains to us as like, oh, you shouldn't like them. We're so anti this. But I always had a soft spot for them because I'm like, well, they were made. Like, what made them that way? Where did they come from? And I'm also like, well, what about the things they did when they were kids? What were their favorite cereals? Like, what were their favorite cartoons? Things like that. My brain is like that. But with Megatron, such an iconic villain, to be able to actually share him with the world where you get to see the origin of him was very important to me. So I just really wanted people to leave actually caring about him and feeling for him and understanding how he became who he is. Yeah.
It's like the Wicked effect. Like I was like,
Right.
I don't know if that was necessarily like the torchbearer, but
Right.
like that is why that play was so successful,
Yeah.
right? Because we got to
We
see how
never
she
think
got
about
wicked.
what they went through or like what happened to them or even any of their most significant relationships and friendships. So like it's really cool that we got to start there with Transformers 1 at the very beginning. Yeah.
And this is part of the same canon as the live action movies,
Mhm.
right? Like it's a prequel to what we have seen
Yeah.
thus far.
Well, like 3 million years before, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah, like
yeah.
before any of
Did,
that.
did they give you? Did you have to watch all seven Transformers movies as homework?
I already watched them. You know what I mean? Like, I've been a fan of Transformers, and especially when they made them in the movies, because I was just like, how are they doing that? And like, I went to Universal for the first time like last summer and got to ride the Transformers ride, and it was hands down the best ride.
It is.
I was
It
like,
is.
this is insane. I had never screamed and laughed so hard, but I was like, this is iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cast for this movie is insane. You got Chris Scarlett, you got
Yeah.
Keegan,
Yeah.
you got Steve Buscemi, you got Lawrence Fishburne,
Fishburne,
you got
man.
John Hamm.
Yeah.
How much of like the appeal? Obviously, you gotta love the script. You have to be on board with the IP. You gotta
Yeah.
like the director and producers. But like when you come onto a project like this, how much of it is it just like, oh yeah, I want to share credit with those people? Or like, I know I'm gonna have to spend time, even if it's like you're doing vocal recording, but
Yeah.
you're gonna have to be together at Comic-Con and on red carpets and stuff. How much of it is like, no, I want to be with this crew of fellow actors.
You hope more often than not when they're assembling an ensemble that it is people that you will have a rapport with. A lot of that is out of your control, but I've been very fortunate for most of the ensembles I've been a part of to actually have just a true deep-rooted camaraderie, because then it really helps in the play, right? It helps take away all the anxiety, it helps take away, all the I don't know, the difficulty that comes with trying to create a family or create these relationships on film that with strangers, like technically that's what it is, but I'm also fans of theirs as well, like that also helps. So like I've always really like adored Chris and his work, and I remember when we finally met after filming this, it was like I'd known him for years. It was literally like he had been my brother forever. And Keegan, it's impossible to just like he's in a room, you just radiate, he radiates in you.
Positive energy.
And Scarlett's just brilliant, so like it's really cool to be a part of an ensemble that is bringing such elevation to a project. They're all remarkable actors, they're all remarkable talent, and I'm so fortunate that they're all remarkable people too.
I overheard you say that you're still surprised when people like come up to you and they recognize you, and you actually like want to know what they recognize you from.
Yeah.
Is there ever some like where you ask that and you get something that is completely unexpected?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I will never forget. I believe it was the last Comic-Con that I came to, and there were cops outside. And so, like, I remember the cops coming up to me and they were just like, oh, man. And I was like, oh, they can't be coming at me for Paperboy. Like, there's no way. And then they were like, oh, man, yeah, you're Jefferson Davis from Spider-Man. Like, knew the whole name. And I was like, oh, I did not think that at all that was what was going to happen. And then on the other side, there was like an 86-year-old grandmother who Paperboy was her favorite character. So I never really know I don't know. There was even a like 7-year-old fan today in the audience who was like, Lemon is my favorite character. And I was like, why were you watching Bullet Train? Like, who allowed this to happen? But also it just melted me, man. So I love, as I continue to do this, that the fans are just drawing from all these different characters that I get to play. And they're just like in love with them, you know, like and that makes me happy. That's what I want. That's what I also want from Megatron. You know, like it's really easy to see a villain and be like, boo, we don't want, but like I really hope that people walk away with like we actually care about him.